Hey guys, it's LegoMatic9, and today I'm going to be doing part 15 of my custom Lego The Walking Dead figures. So today I have 6 brand new figures to show you guys that I've been working on for the past few months. I apologize for not having a part out any sooner, but at least I got these guys done in time for the Season 7 premiere. So for this part, I've got a brand new version of Negan. I severely updated him from last time. He looks a lot better. I've got some brand new versions of Rick and Daryl, which are long past overdue. I've got Simon, I've got Spencer Monroe, and I have Tobin. So, without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into the close-ups on these figures.
Not today. Not tomorrow. But I'm gonna kill you.
So we're going to start off with my new version of Rick Grimes. Now there actually was one version before this that I had on my business card as well as on my banner that's currently still there, but it will be replaced by this one soon. So I made that one before, and I didn't have any intention of changing it to a version like this, but my buddy Shane, or The Last Prime, pretty much told me that my Rick looked like garbage and I needed to redo it, and I was like, yeah, you're right. So I went ahead and completely redid it, and it turned out a lot better than that version. So with this Rick, he is armed with his hatchet that he's been using frequently, as well as his python. Can't have him without that. So he's got those two accessories, which are pretty nice. So in terms of paintwork, he's got the brown boots painted on there, and then moving up, he's got a belt made out of fabric, so that goes all the way around him like that. So you can see that all these pouches were then sculpted on and painted. He's got a little holster right there too. Non-functioning, it's just there and it looks pretty nice. Then he also has his little pocket, or his little pouch right there that kind of like holsters his machete. It's not really a sheath, it's just like kind of like a pocket that just secures the handle in there. So I don't have the machete in there because, you know, it's too big to do that. His jacket was made out of E-tape, I added different layers on there with other layers of E-tape, such as for the little brown lines that are at the top of his jacket there, and then these zippers and everything was made out of fabric to kind of give it that kind of like rigged look, and I definitely like that a lot. I also used fabric on the jacket to do the fur and on the collar, rather than sculpting it, because sculpting it was just too thick and it just looked really weird, so I decided to use fabric, and it turned out pretty nice. The arms also have E-tape on them for the cuffs, so those were added on there. Then you get the little buttons, the cufflinks painted on there as well, so those look pretty good. Other little paintwork throughout the jacket. The jacket is actually a mix of browns. It's like a whole bunch of different dark browns and some black and stuff mixed in there to just give it kind of a weathered look, so I definitely like that. He's got his watch on there as well. It's a tiny tactical watch. His face was a Legolas face, I think, from The Hobbit, not from Lord of the Rings. It's the Hobbit version of Legolas, and what I did is I erased everything except for the eyes, then painted on the mouth, painted on the beard, painted on the eyebrows, and added all the other little details such as his forehead wrinkles, the wrinkles under and on the sides of his eyes. He also has some little wrinkles like kind of like right in between his eyebrows. You can't really see him that well, it's not really picking up that well, but he also has some little lines there. He's got this little scar underneath his eye that he has now. And then for the beard, I painted that in a dark brown, and then I kind of gave it a dark gray wash to kind of give it an older look. That's what I did with the eyebrows as well. And the hair is just the same hair I've been using. It's just a modified werewolf hairpiece. Just sanded the ears off and painted it, and it looks pretty nice. So that's my new version of Rick. Definitely like him a lot better than the previous versions. Just give you guys one quick 360 view of him. Yeah, so there's Rick. Definitely like him a lot better than the version I had before this, as well as the other version I had before this was the one that I made for the giveaway. And so it's just been a long time since I've made a Rick, and it was definitely time to make a new one. So there is Rick Grimes.
Hold up. So they show up, they kill a kid, and you give them half of everything? These dicks just got a good story. Boogeyman, he ain't shit.
So next up is my new version of Daryl Dixon. I haven't made Daryl in like 2 years, so I thought it was definitely time for an upgrade. And this figure has got to be my favorite Walking Dead figure that I've made so far. And you guys will see why. He's got a lot of detail packed into him, and I just can't wait to show you guys. So he's armed with the RPG he uses in Season 6. This is just a Brick Arms RPG painted up in the correct colors. So I thought that would be a pretty badass weapon to give him since he doesn't have his crossbow anymore. So I'll take that out of his hand for now. I'll just get that out of the way. So starting with the legs, he's just got some dark brown boots or shoes painted on there. Then he has some E-tape wrapped around his ankles, since in the show he's got some like rope or something wrapped around his ankles to keep his pants from falling apart. He also has some patches painted on to his knees there. Then he has a little dark gray strap painted on that's hanging down from his shirt there. Then he has a fabric knife sheath glued onto his belt. Moving on to the torso, he has a black shirt, button-up shirt with some gold buttons painted on there. He also has a dark gray undershirt underneath that, and then I use black and dark gray to do the accents and like the folds and the collars and stuff for those shirts there. His vest is made out of E-tape, and I painted over that in a semi-gloss dark bluish gray. Since it's not fully black, I decided to do that, and I think it looks pretty nice. Just the gray color turned out pretty good. He also has the buttons and the button holes or whatever he's got on there, just buttons on each side, and then he has the little details on his front of his vest painted in a kind of matte black. It's kind of hard to see, but you can see if I get the light reflecting, you guys can see that as I go around. So that looks pretty nice. Now the back is what I really want to show you guys. This was probably the hardest thing I've had to do on a Walking Dead figure ever. That is Daryl's wings. So as you can see, they're actually elevated. If I show you guys like right there, you can see that they're actually raised up. And how I did that is I took a strip of E-tape and I cut it up in the shape of the wings, glued it onto the vest, painted it in tan, and then painted the black detail on there. And I just think it turned out awesome. My last Daryl had the wings made out of decal, I think is what I did. I did water slide decals just as an easy way out. And this one just turned out so much better because they're a lot bigger and they just look a lot nicer and they match with the figure a lot better. So those turned out amazing. I'm just super happy with how the wings turned out. That was just definitely a detail I was afraid of doing, and it turned out really nice. He also has his dark red handkerchief glued on to the back of his leg there. Now the face was the same face I used last time, except I erased all of the printing and repainted everything except for the eyes. So I painted on the cheekbones, painted on the mouth, painted on the beard, stubble, everything like that. And the eyebrows and everything was painted on there, and I just think this head looks so much more like Daryl than my last version. It just looks really nice, so hopefully you guys like that. His hair was the surfer hair that I've been using for Daryl for a while, except I sculpted on it to make it kind of like comb the right way and part the right way, so sculpted that on there, and it looks pretty nice. So that's Daryl. Definitely really love how he turned out, especially these wings. I'm just super happy with how those turned out. The entire figure is kind of like dry brushed in some dark red as well as a little bit of dark brown to give him kind of like a dirty look. So I'm going to give him his crossbow, like I said. Put that right there. I'll just show you guys what he looks like with that. So there is my brand new version of Daryl Dixon.
You can breathe. You can blink. You can cry. Hell, you're all gonna be doing that.
Next up is my updated version of Negan. Now I had a Negan in part 14, but that version just doesn't look that good anymore, so I went ahead and just remade him so he looks a lot better. So Negan's armed with a baseball bat by Brick Arms. What it is, I just painted it in kind of like some matte brown colors to get rid of the glossy finish that Brick Arms weapons have. And then he has some wire wrapped around Lucille there, so it looks pretty cool. Now Negan is actually a little bit taller than your average Lego figure because I extended the legs. If you guys want to know how to do that, I do have a tutorial, so check out my channel and you guys can find it there. He has some E-tape wrapped around the legs there to resemble his boots. Then his boots were painted in a gloss black, and he has some dark gray wrinkles on his legs. Moving up to the torso here, he has a brown belt made out of fabric that wraps around the figure. So he's got brown, then he's got some capsules glued in there. Those are actually made out of wire. And those are painted in kind of like a dark tan color. He has a gunmetal belt and a gold button. And he has a belt underneath that that's actually painted on the Lego waist piece. And then he has the other belt on his jacket there. So just to give you guys a look, there's the other belts on the figure. You guys can see all three of those. Moving on to the jacket here. The jacket's made out of E-tape. And he has other little layers of E-tape, such as for the zippers. Those are all separate strips of E-tape and are elevated a little bit. The belt is E-tape, as well as the belt loops that are, across the entire belt there, across the entire jacket. And then he has the collar that is also separate layers of E-tape. So those look pretty nice. In terms of paint, what I did on the jacket here is I painted these zippers in silver and then added some black details to those zippers to make them look a little better rather than just blank strips of silver. Just give them some detail. And then he has the collar that is outlined in a kind of like pavement color, a really dark gray. He's got some buttons painted on in silver. He's got a gunmetal belt buckle and some other little silver details along his belt. Has a silver, not a silver scarf, a red scarf that has just been like kind of wrapped around the neck piece and jammed in between the torso and the actual jacket. So that was painted red and then kind of like dry brushed in other various reds to give it kind of some depth, I guess. So that looks pretty nice. Then the head was the UCS Boba Fett head. And what I did is I actually modified it a bunch rather than the last version where I just painted on the beard. This one just looks a lot more like Negan, just looks a lot more like Jeffrey Dean Morgan, overall just looks a lot better. So what I did with that is I painted on the eyebrows, painted on the forehead wrinkles, and the little wrinkle in between his eyebrows there. Painted on his little cheekbones, painted on the beard in like various colors of and various shades of gray. And then he has kind of like a thicker black mustache than before. Before it was like pretty thin, and this one's a lot thicker and it looks a lot better. Then the hair is just a simple slick back hairpiece that has just been modified a little bit to get that widow's peak, kind of like not as pointy as it was before. So that's my new version of Negan. Definitely looks a lot better than the previous version, so hopefully you guys like it. One other little detail I need to tell you guys about is that in the arms he also has he's got some white sleeves painted in there for his white undershirt. So that is it for Negan. Hopefully you guys like this one a lot better than the previous version. I know I do, so let me know what you guys think. So there is my new version of Negan. One other thing that I made for Negan was this bent hand, so credit to this goes to my buddy Andy or Delta Customs. I'll have a link to his channel and his Flickr and stuff in the description down below, so definitely go check him out. He actually did this kind of like bent hand so you could get Negan in some iconic poses, such as this one, so you can have him like pointing the bat out like that, so you can see the hand is not straight, it's bent like that, so you can get poses such as this one where he's like pointing the bat. And then you can also get this one where he kind of has the bat above his shoulder.
Good. You made it. Welcome to where you're going.
As promised, I made Simon, who is Negan's right-hand man, or his lead savior. So Simon here is played by Stephen Ogg, and that's what everybody was referring to him as, is the Stephen Ogg savior. And that's, I think, what I was referring to him as for a while, until they finally revealed his name, and it is Simon. So Simon here was pretty basic. He's not really that too hard of a figure to make. What I did is I just painted on some black boots, or black shoes onto his legs there. Then he has a holster sculpted onto his leg. He's armed with a Brick Arms UCS pistol, with the ejection port painted in a gunmetal color. Moving up to the belt area, he has a black belt painted on there with the silver buckle kind of like offset to one side because he doesn't really have it perfectly centered. Moving on to the torso is just a light bluish gray torso with some dark gray details painted on there, such as his collar, the separation on his shirt, his wrinkles, and his pockets. And he has just some black buttons painted on there, and then he has this big E-tape belt wrapping around, I guess, his like his stomach area. So I added that on there. It's made out of E-tape. Then he has one little like loop or something that he had right there. It's just like some strap that was pretty evident or whatever that I added a separate strip of E-tape for. And then I painted on the silver belt buckle right there. He's got some flesh arms there with the sleeves painted on there in the light gray. And then his head, I can't even remember what the head, I think it was a Jango Fett head that I used for him. So removed all the printing, painted on the mouth, painted on the mustache, painted on the eyebrows, all the wrinkles and stuff, and painted on the stubble and the cheekbones. I think it looks pretty nice. Then he has the Doctor Who hair painted in a black color. I think it works perfect for him. So yeah, and the entire figure was kind of dry brushed in a, I think I used dark brown and dark gray for the dry brush on him, just to make him look a little dirty and stuff. So that is Simon, the lead savior and Negan's right-hand man. I think I nailed the likeness on him. I think he looks a lot like Stephen Ogg, so hopefully you guys think so too. And yeah, so that is pretty much it for Simon.
If the saviors do show up, I don't know, I'm thinking if it's not too late, should we try and make some kind of deal?
Next up, we have Spencer Monroe. Now, Spencer's been a character I've been wanting to make for quite some time now, not just because he's like an interesting character. Hasn't really done anything, doesn't really have any relevance, but I've just been wanting to make him for a little while because I was planning on using this hairpiece for him for a while, and I've had that sitting around. I've had the head done for quite some time, so I'm glad I finally got him done. So he's armed with a tiny tactical rifle. I'm not really sure what the name of it is, and it's got some attachments on there, such as the scope and the suppressor. So those were attached on there. Can't remember the exact names of those, but it looks pretty similar to the rifle he uses in the show. So Spencer's a pretty simple figure. He's got some brown boots, brown shoes painted onto his legs there. He's got a holster sculpted onto his thigh right there. And then moving on to his torso, it's pretty simple, just painted in a dark gray color. And then I used a really dark gray for the wrinkles and for the outline of the collar and stuff and the buttons and everything. He's got a little rip in his shirt down here, which I think looks pretty nice. Then he's got the white undershirt with the light gray outline for the collar of that. And he's got the big sweat stain right there that was painted in a, it was just kind of like washed in there with a dark gray. And then throughout the entire figure, he's got some dry brushing in dark brown and dark red, and I think a little bit of dark gray maybe. The head was a Death Star gunner head, and I removed all the printing except for the eyes. Painted on the eyebrows, painted on the cheekbones and the wrinkles and stuff, then painted on the stubble as well. And then he's got like a little bruise or something up there at the top of his head. Then he has the little details painted on the inside of his mouth there to kind of make it look like his mouth is kind of open. I was wanting to give Spencer some expression just because not a lot of my figures have expression faces. They're all pretty neutral. So I thought giving Spencer kind of like an expression would make him a little different from all my other figures. And I just, whenever I think of Spencer, I always think he always has his like mouth open for some reason. Then the hairpiece is the Superman hairpiece that was kind of just modified a little bit by sanding down the hair on this side, and then I painted it in a dark brown. So there's Spencer. He's a pretty simple figure. Hopefully you guys like him. And yeah, that's it for Spencer.
They're the best beet and acorn cookies I've ever eaten.
So the last figure we have is Tobin. Now, to be honest, I don't really know why I made Tobin. It's probably just because my friends were joking about me making him, and Tobin's a pretty big badass, and he's a chill dude in Alexandria, and I needed some variation in my figures. And I also had time, so I thought, you know, what the hell, let's make Tobin. So here he is. He's armed with a Brick Arms AK-47 that I dry brushed in gunmetal and then added some brown details for the wood. He's got some black shoes painted on there. He's got a kind of like nutmeg brown belt painted on there that goes all the way around. He's got a silver belt buckle. Now, the shirt was a pain in the ass because Tobin only wears plaid. So I chose the easiest design of plaid that he wore, which is his red, white, and blue color scheme. And, you know, I think it looks pretty nice. Plaid is something really hard to do, especially if you make it go all the way around like that. I know some people get pretty lazy, Dylan, and don't paint all the way around, paint the plaid all the way around, but I did that, and it's alright. I kind of got a little sloppy towards the back there, because I started to just not care, but I think it looks pretty nice on the front, at least. So he's got the red, white, and blue color scheme. He's got some other little details painted on in black, such as his pockets and his collar and everything. Then he has the separation of the shirt and the buttons painted on there in a different color. He has a tan undershirt that is... It's got some like brown outlines and stuff for the collar. He's got the flesh tone painted on there as well. The arms also have the plaid design and the kind of like sleeves that are coming out of the tan shirt. So this looks pretty nice. The head is just, I don't even know what head this is, but I painted it up. I painted the eyebrows and added a little bit of wrinkles and stuff. Nothing too bad. And then the hair was that comb-over hairpiece or whatever that I sanded down the front of it so the hairline was further back because Tobin doesn't have the fullest head of hair, so I decided to just make his hairline go a little bit back. So that was painted in a kind of like a nutmeg brown as well with some gray painted on there for his sideburns and stuff. So there's one other quick look 360 of Tobin here with all the plaid and stuff, and he also was dry brushed in some brown and some dark red as well. So yeah, there is Tobin. Alright guys, that is going to be it for this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please let me know down in the comments which of these figures is your favorite, and also let me know any other characters you want me to make as LEGO minifigures. I'd be glad to hear them. So I have my guesses for the premiere on who dies, or if there's one death, or whatever, but regardless of whatever happens, please don't go spoiling it in the comments down below. I know some people are not going to be able to watch the episode, they're going to watch my video but not be able to watch the episode, or whatever, so don't go spoiling it for them. Just be considerate of those who are not able to see the episode just yet. So I'm going to be monitoring the comments when the episode, you know, after it airs. I'm going to be monitoring the comments, see if anybody's spoiling it yet, and I'll be removing those. So, you know, don't go spoiling it, don't ruin it for anybody else, because that just sucks. So if you guys haven't already, please check out my other social media accounts. All will be linked to in the description below. So just my Flickr, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Google+. And remember to like, comment, and subscribe. I'll see you guys later.